Thanks for watching the Weather Channel, everybody. We're continuing to follow yet another snowstorm in the Northeast. Those of you watching from Boston tonight, I'm sure you're pretty much sick of this. Over 100 inches, some areas over 10 feet of snow in southern New England, and it is snowing and blowing tonight. We'll go live to Jeff Morrow in just a minute. First, though, we want to update you on the storm graphically from our satellite perspective from space. Let's show you what it looks like from way out there. And there we go. We've got clouds, and we've got darker blues showing up. And now look out over the Atlantic Ocean. See these oranges showing up? The cloud tops are getting colder and higher. So as a result, we are getting intensification of our storm. And that's just what you don't need if you're sick of the snow and this winter, which continues to rage on now into Easter Sunday and tomorrow, too. It's going to be pretty tricky traveling, especially in the interior, where temperatures now are already below freezing. In Worcester, 31 degrees. We've got our storm off the coast, trough of low pressure, which has actually focused the heavier snow through most of the day on Easter Sunday. Some of the counties from central New York, from the Finger Lakes down into northeastern Pennsylvania, some areas getting as much as 6 to 7 inches of snowfall. We had convergence, the wind coming in off the Atlantic from the east and a bit of a west to northwest flow here. And as the winds converge together, we get rising air in this area, and we had additional snowfall. And as often is the case in the springtime, the snow accumulations are higher as you go up in elevation because it's a little bit colder. But the good thing going for us is radiation continues to get through the clouds, even tomorrow when it's cloudy and cold. Because of the higher sun angle, the days are much longer, and the highways, it's really tough to get the snow to stick to the highways after the sun rises, but before the sun comes up. And remember, tomorrow morning, the sun will come up an hour later than it did on Friday morning. So we're going to have to deal with some slippery highways tomorrow morning in the Northeast, especially in Boston and north and west of Boston. You can see all the precipitation. Now, most of the snow showers back through the Ohio Valley, West Virginia, and western Pennsylvania have ended. But the snows continue now around New York City, snowing out on the island at Islip, out through the Hamptons, snow here. Past couple of hours, though, we've had just a cold rain around LaGuardia, but snow at Trenton. And this is all snow up through the Poconos, up through the Catskill areas, that snowfall. And the darker greens now rotating into Boston. And the northwest suburbs are getting pounded right now with big, wet snowflakes. And the wind chill right now in Boston is running between 5 and 10 degrees. Last hour at Logan, officially 6 degrees, the wind chill, and the temperature right now between 32, 33 degrees, depending on your location. You can see the snow now beginning to spread north into southern New England. Watch out in Portland, Bangor, and points north, and especially in these areas. Boy, you are going to get pasted. And remember, this is a heavy wet snow, so it tends to weigh more and bring down trees on power lines. We'll have to worry about that. And if you're a coastal resident, tides will be running above normal. If that isn't enough, this is what you're going to be shoveling tomorrow morning, and through the afternoon the snow will continue. But again, tomorrow, with that radiation getting through the clouds, the highways should be just wet and not so much white. But tonight we've got some serious problems developing right now in the Boston area, especially in the northwest suburbs. And our very own Jeff Morrow is now tracking the storm. And Jeff, in just the past half an hour, it looks like the weather has completely turned around for the worse.
It has gone downhill rather rapidly, Mike. We are really getting pasted here with a lot of heavy, wet snow. It is really coming down, and the wind appears to be picking up a little bit as well. Not that it's going to drift any of this stuff. It is sticking to everything. We have to clean off the satellite dish pretty frequently on our satellite truck because the snow tends to get in there and it would disrupt the signal. So there's snow over everything, and it has really started to accumulate. We have at least an inch of snow on the ground, and it is piling up very quickly. I'm going to just gesture behind me here. You can see some of the snow and the lights behind me. We're at North Tewksbury, just off Interstate 495, and it is really coming down. As I've been standing here waiting to talk to you for just about the last 4 minutes, I am like pasted here on my left side with all that snow coming in. It's sticking to everything. The size of the flakes are huge, so there's a big water content here. And as you mentioned, as this starts to pile up not only on the ground, but on the trees and power lines, there you can see the little bit more of a gust of wind. That could bring down the trees and power lines and really cause more of a problem. One more thing I did want to point out, it is starting to stick now on the road surfaces, on the paved surfaces, so it looks like our driving is going to go downhill from here overnight.
So the main highways are getting white right now.
Yeah, it looks like the traffic's still moving pretty good over across the way on 495. However, if it continues to snow this hard, I would tend to believe the roads are going to first start to get slushy and then maybe a little bit icy a bit later on.
Okay, Jeff, we'll stay warm and keep the snow off your shoulders there. We'll check back with you live from Boston. Jeff Morrow from the Weather Channel reporting on our latest storm, a series of storms. Winter rages on in the Northeast, and we want to show you the setup time and time again. And especially in this time of the year, you've got to have a lot of cold air, and we've got it aloft, that big low sitting over Michigan, and those lines indicating the jet stream winds dipping down and then coming up and off the East Coast. But in time, as the low deepens, the jet stream winds deepen and back around, that will kind of gravitate that low, retrograde it, as we say in meteorology, bring it back towards the west and northwest. It'll get closer to the coast. That means more wind, more snowfall, a risk of some coastal flooding. Tides will be running as high as 2 to 2.5 feet above normal at high tide late tonight, 2 to 4 a.m., and again maybe tomorrow afternoon. And what it all means for you is another rough commute tomorrow morning in the Boston area, Providence, Portland, and Bangor. And we have more snow even down the road in the forecast. But we also have some better news for those of you in the Northeast. Let's get the good details and a recap on what's going on around the rest of the country. Now from Christina Abernathy.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Across the country, we want to take a look at the temperatures, first of all, and of course the coolest readings here through the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and into the Northeast, where, as Mike showed you, you continue to get pounded with the snow in many areas. But in the West, a completely different story. We have a ridge of high pressure here, still looking at temperatures in the 70s, and in the Southwest, even into the 80s still. So it's been a pretty nice day in Phoenix and in Los Angeles with very mild temperatures, even into the central states and into the southeast, some pretty mild readings, a pretty pleasant day in many areas. Well, as we see on our map, not a lot of active weather here in the west or the central U.S. It's when we head to the east, as Mike showed you, in the northeast in particular, but also here out ahead of this area of low pressure in the front, we are looking at some soggy conditions and not a great deal of moisture to work with, but we are looking at some wet weather here through parts of Missouri and into Tennessee, and a frontal boundary here through Florida has been the focal point for some wet weather, even some thunder showers today. Well, let's see what we're dealing with first. Our radar picture taking us into Missouri, where we are looking at a little bit of wet weather here through Missouri and into Kentucky. Not all of this reaching the ground, but we are looking at some light rain falling through this area nevertheless. And then back to the south, a little wet weather for Florida too, around West Palm Beach, reporting a little bit of light rain. Well, back to the maps we go, and as we head to the western half of the country, well, we've been focusing a great deal on the east, but things are going to be changing a bit in the west. The pattern Friday looked like this: an area of high pressure at the surface, quite strong. The flow around that high producing a pretty strong offshore flow. Then on Sunday, that high weakening, and in turn, that flow weakening somewhat too. Now, as we start off the work week, we're going to see that big ridge moving eastward, the weak surface high moving eastward, and the flow becoming onshore. And what that means is low clouds moving into the region. So head on into Monday morning, and although the quiet weather generally in the west, except for the cloud cover moving in.
Only on the Weather Channel.
This is a special edition of WeatherScope with the latest on the coastal storm threatening New England.
You'd think that on Easter Sunday you could put away the snow shovels in the Northeast, but not this season. Spring has been underway for a good 2 weeks now, And you're going to be shoveling snow once again tomorrow in a good deal of southern New England. Thanks for watching the Weather Channel. I'm Mike Seidel here in the Forecast Center from Atlanta. And we've got the latest on yet another snowstorm in New England. It's been a record-setting year. Many areas getting their snowiest winter on record. Over 100 inches in Boston, and it's snowing once again tonight. Unbelievable. Let's show you the storm now from the satellite perspective. And a lot of brighter colors now showing up, especially out over the Atlantic. This is indicating the storm is intensifying. Remember on the infrared picture that the brighter colors, especially now that you're seeing some orange and those darker blues, indicating higher cloud tops and colder cloud tops. So the storm is getting stronger, and it's wrapping in moisture into southern New England. Temperatures now just cold enough actually for snow. And one thing going for us after all, it is April. The roadways have been fairly mild. The temperatures today back in the 40s. So in a lot of areas it's not sticking, but in some spots it has been sticking, especially back through the Finger Lakes, where upwards of 6 to 7 inches of snow fell today, back through the Poconos, a good 2 or 3 inches. And in areas where the thermometer, like in Worcester, Massachusetts, has dropped below freezing, 31 there. The storm developing here, throwing the moisture in. The winds are really gusting now. Logan Airport wind gusts this past hour to 37 miles an hour. The wind chill right now in Boston is 5 above zero. And the snow continues to fall, especially away from the coast. We've had some snow out on Long Island. Snow's now beginning to taper down through the Pocono areas and back through central Jersey, but some snow earlier, some wet snow around Trenton. And the snow showers from earlier on Easter Sunday have eased off as the sun has set, and the energy really kind of destabilizing the atmosphere has lessened. And those snow showers are on the way in around Pittsburgh, Elkins, and Charleston. But not the case in New England. If you're doing any traveling up Interstate 95, anywhere north and west of Interstate 95, these areas, roadways are now getting snow-covered, slushy accumulations with temperatures right around freezing, if not below. Over in Binghamton right now, the temperature running 27, 28 degrees. And in the springtime, a lot of times the snow accumulates more in higher elevations. We call this an elevation event because the temperatures are colder. And here in April, that's what we've had going for us. Back through the Finger Lakes, north of these areas here, so we had up to 7 inches of snow earlier today. Well, right now we're mainly watching the I-95 corridor, especially from the Berkshires all the way back towards the Boston metro area, especially north and west of Boston. The snow now easing up towards Portsmouth, the New Hampshire coast, and later on tonight, Portland, Bangor, and points north. And back in the interior, you're going to get plastered. This is very heavy, wet snowfall. We have to worry about trees coming down on power lines. How much snow will you be shoveling? There you go. Tomorrow morning, and don't forget, it's going to be getting light an hour later tomorrow morning, so you may be driving in this snow and this mess in the dark. And until we get the sun up, even though you won't see it, until we get the sun up and get some of that radiation through the clouds, you're going to have to deal with some slick highways, especially away from the coast. And if you're on the coast, strong east winds piling up the water. Tides will be running anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 feet above normal. Most of the high tides in this area, from the Cape and Martha's Vineyard and all the way up towards the coast, averaging high tide between 2 and 4 in the morning. And again, we'll have another high tide tomorrow afternoon after lunchtime. And in the thick of this snow is our very own Jeff Morrow. Jeff has been out covering numerous snowstorms this winter. We've lost count, Jeff, but fill us in on the latest tonight from the Boston suburbs.
Well, Mike, we're in North Tewksbury here, right off Interstate 495, and I got to tell you, this is probably one of the wetter snows I've ever covered, particularly this winter. I've covered a lot of very dry, powdery snow, the good skiing snow. This one, you'd have to put a different wax on the skis, I think, for sure. It has let up a little bit since the last time I talked to you. Visibility not quite as bad behind me there. When you talked to me about a half an hour ago, it was coming down just amazingly fast, and we got about 1.5 inches of snow, I would say, in about 45 minutes. It was really coming down. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to bend down here and show you about how much we have on the ground. And even as I'm doing this, I can see the water kind of running away from the bottom of the snow. I mean, it is so thick with water. I mean, all I have to do is go like that, and you've got a nice snowball real easily here. I mean, this is really heavy, wet, compacted snow, and it sticks to everything. So as you mentioned, maybe trees and power lines could be a problem if we do get 4 to 8 inches by tomorrow morning.
Okay, Jeff, let's talk baseball. Tomorrow's opening day at Fenway Park in Boston. I have serious doubts they're going to be playing any baseball in Boston tomorrow.
Tomorrow was opening day. That is the operative word, was. It has been postponed now, put back at least one day till Tuesday, I believe at 1:15, 1 to 1:15, right in that neighborhood, tentatively for Tuesday. Of course, as we know, we could have still a lot of cold air, maybe some more snow showers around. So who knows, that may get pushed back even more. But for right now, opening day tomorrow has been postponed until at least Tuesday at Fenway Park.
Okay, Jeff, stay warm, stay dry. We'll check back with you in a half an hour. Jeff Morrow reporting live from the suburbs northwest of Boston. You saw the snow coming down there. Here's the setup in the atmosphere. It doesn't often snow this hard in Boston in April. It's not unprecedented, but it's not certainly a typical occurrence.
I want to take a look at our temperatures across the country, and as you might imagine, the coldest temperatures are in the northeastern U.S., looking at 20s and 30s already here. And in the west, you have enjoyed very mild, very warm temperatures under a big ridge of high pressure, and those warm temperatures continue now, 60s, 70s, even 80s here in the southwest. The big picture shows us the quietest weather here through the west, the central U.S., but we have seen the wet weather and even the snow picking up here through parts of Illinois and into Indiana. Of course, the snow continuing here in the northeast and along our frontal boundary here that's sort of stalled out across Florida. We are looking at a little wet weather, even some thunder showers earlier today. We want to focus in on our radar first in this region, where we are looking at some snow showers now in Champaign-Urbana and back to the south around Decatur, Illinois, getting a little bit of a rain-snow mix. And then even farther to the south, we see generally a rain event, also getting a little rain around Terre Haute, Indiana. And finally, back to the south into Florida, we see a little wet weather in New York State. In the northeast, that is, of course, going to be in the form of snow, 6 to 12 inches of snow in some areas. Cool temperatures overnight for much of the country, in particular the northeastern U.S. Warm temperatures in the west for our forecast into the beginning of our work week. And as we head on through the week,
Only on the Weather Channel.
Northeast, you're seeing the snow coming down. You've got the shovels ready, maybe the blowers. But with heavy wet snowfall, it's really hard to use those gas blowers. It's a lot easier when it's a powdery snow. Here on Easter Sunday, happy Easter, and we greeted Easter Sunday. Sunrise services in Cincinnati at night in the west. Your temperatures 70s and 80s. Pretty nice day in the west. Even in the higher elevations, it was mild up above 60. But we have the dip in the jet stream in the east, big ridge in the west, and that's why it's been so warm. Now, by the way, the Santa Anas have weakened in California, so it wasn't quite as hot today with that strong offshore flow breaking down Sunday afternoon, but still another lovely day with temperatures topping out in the deserts away from the coast in the low 90s. But our jet stream out of the northwest, and that is just dragging down another bout of wintry weather here, the third week of spring, whatever it is. It seems like it should be springtime. It's Easter. It's pushing into the second week of April. The temperatures tonight are chilly. 34 now, Boston's Logan Airport. It's been snowing very hard. And we'll be showing you what it looks like in the northwest suburbs. Jeff Morrow is there reporting live, and we'll be checking back with him again at the top of the hour. 38 in New York. We've had some wet snow or rain and snow mixed around the New York City area. None of that sticking, though, fortunately, on the roads at this point. It's below freezing already in Chicago, but from Dallas all the way to Houston and out to Phoenix and Los Angeles, it was a beautiful afternoon. Still, even right now, it's still running in the low 80s in many areas of the southwest and southern California. Now, as far as the current weather map, we don't have a lot from the Mississippi River to the west coast, but we do have a storm here. It doesn't look very impressive, but this is going to come around that dip in the jet stream and lead to more snow in the northeast. Here's our low right now, and a trough of low pressure extending back through western parts of New York. Now, today, the winds coming from the east around our storm, and then a west to northwest wind coming in from the backside around this high, we had convergence. So the air converged, the air rose, and around the Finger Lakes in New York, you picked up to 7 inches of snowfall, and even a couple of inches of snow, 2 or 3 inches in the Poconos. The main threat of heavier snow, though, will shift into southern New England tonight and tomorrow, including Portland, Bangor, Boston, Concord, and Manchester. Let's show you the satellite loop and show you what we're talking about. There's the big rotation in the atmosphere. The storm, the upper low, is sitting back here. Had some snow showers earlier today. You can see the speckled clouds. They've dissipated at this point. But look at the brighter colors developing out over the Atlantic, indicating our cloud tops are cooling down. The storm is intensifying, and as a result, the snow will be picking up in intensity and in breadth. Heavier snows now through southern New England back to Worcester. Temperature now in Worcester running around 30, 31 degrees, so it is below freezing in the interior. Watch the bridges and overpasses. Also remember that a lot of you will be getting up tomorrow in the dark versus how it was Friday. It's going to be getting light an hour later tomorrow morning because of a changeover with the clocks last night. So we're going to have to deal with some slick roadways. Now, once the sun comes up in April, although you won't see the sun, radiation gets through the clouds, and those black, especially those black asphalt surfaces, will soak it up. So the roads tomorrow should not be a major problem in many areas because of that effect. However, until mid to late morning, you're going to have to deal with some slick spots, especially away from the coast where temperatures are already dropping below freezing. Here's the close-up. Most of the precipitation now over with in New York, but out on the island, it's been snowing for several hours around Islip and the Hamptons. You can see the moisture getting pulled back in towards the Boston area. Let's show you how it looks graphically. The setup, the jet stream, big cold low sitting over 33, Burlington 36, and our snowfall forecast overnight looks pretty impressive considering it is springtime. Good 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 inches in some of those higher elevations in New England. So we...
But it is about as wet as it can possibly be. It is really close to just being all liquid precipitation rather than frozen. Very slushy accumulation. However, now that, of course, we've lost the heating of the day, it is sticking on some road surfaces. This is a paved park.